Just wait.
We will. Welcome back, everybody, to Paranormal Primetime. We are back once again, another Supernatural Sunday, to discuss two more episodes of everybody's favorite paranormal show. I am joined by Malachi as always, and we are ready to have some fun with this one because, yeah, we'll get into it. But these were not disappointing episodes, at least to me, in a way. But
Yeah, I was pretty happy with them.
how you doing this week, Malachi?
Doing good. How about you?
Eh, I need a vacation, but I'm never going to get one. So, what the hell's talk? What the hell's we to argue about? ah, well,
Oh, turn
folks.
that off. There we go.
Get rid of that shit. Ah, well, we decided last time that from now on, Malachi gets odd episodes and I get even episodes. So that means Malachi starts us off every week now, since that's kind of the way it just goes. But uh,
Unless we start doing like 3 episodes or something.
we actually possibly could, but we'll see. Uh,
Before we get
what?
going, did you see the pyramids? They found those spiral pillars underneath them.
Yes, I did hear about that to some degree. I didn't really look into it too deeply because it's something we all knew about for years now, but nobody ever wanted to admit that the pyramids were built by some other race from some other time. But
Well, I'm thinking because I mean that's why I started listening to Rogan back in the day, like 2016, 17, because he had some dude on there and explained like the Baghdad battery, and the new guy he had on's different, but a long time ago he had a guy on that was like thought the thing was a some sort of power plant, right? And it would explain how they'd be able to coat things with gold because you need electricity with gold to coat gold.
yep,
So I think that's pretty interesting.
I I just love when things that we've known for a long time finally get freaking admitted to. So
Yeah.
it's always fun, and I can't wait. I am now just waiting to see what comes of it. What's going to be the next what the next thing they're going to announce about it is. So we'll see. We'll see what time brings.
Yeah.
But eventually they're
Interesting
going to try.
stuff.
Eventually they're going to try to excavate one of them. You know they are. But and that's when I don't know. Maybe something will show up. Maybe something will get found underneath ancient civilizations and all that good stuff. So we'll see. Maybe who knows? But and
Yep.
hey, and Lord knows there will be 1,000 TV shows out about it nowadays, coming up in the next 5 years.
Yeah.
But
Change our paranormal podcast back to
maybe
Egypt.
eh, might have to. We'll see. But actually, I kind of want to hear Michael's take on it. But
Yeah, it would be
the
interesting.
way he,
Maybe we could do a bonus episode for this.
we can always, we can always take a week off Paranormal Prime Time and do a bonus episode of that instead to see what we talk about. But with that and anything else that's developed, because the whole JFK MLK papers getting released is talk worthy too. But we'll see. We can work that out.
Yeah.
But
Well, let's jump into this first episode. So we got season 1, episode 17, Hell House. And this one was directed by Chris Long and written by Trey Calloway. And I want to remember these two for further episodes. But we're starting off in Richardson, Texas. So the episode we're doing flashback before happens 2 months before where we're at right now, we got 3 boys and 1 girl walking through the forest and end up in the middle of nowhere, right? The girl's scared, and this one had a lot of zingers. The
Yeah, it did.
girl's scared and asks to hold her boyfriend's hand, and the boyfriend says, "Any other parts I can hold?" Then there's bad graffiti everywhere. She uh, she only takes, or we find out that this lore demon, right? It only takes girls, and it strings them up in the root cellar. Um, don't see anything scary, do you? I don't know what I wrote there. Uh, Kids all go down to the root cellar. There's a girl hanging. And then flash present day, we're in Interstate 35. Dean puts a spoon in Sam's mouth and then takes a picture with their old fucking flip phones. And this sort of starts the prank war that is like another subplot of this whole episode. So we got this ghost who's hanging people and a prank off. Um, Flip phone. And then Sam says he doesn't want to start the prank stuff up again because it gets too out of control. And they're talking about the case, and I thought I rewound it twice, but I thought they said pre-mesogenic spirit, mesogenic spirit. What the fuck does that mean?
I couldn't tell you. I really couldn't. But I pretty much I didn't hear that even. I mean, I watched this episode pretty much first thing when I woke up this morning, so I was kind of still having my coffee, but I did not hear
Me
that.
too.
I
Me
but
too.
yeah,
Yeah, forgot.
the prank the prank war in this episode is pretty freaking awesome. I
Yeah, yeah,
forgot.
yeah, yeah. Nice little subplot. But so the kids reported the body of the hanging girl to the cop. The cops come. They can't find anything. And we get to a first here, but Sam is finding out information about this case on hellhouselair.com, which, can you show screen? Can we Google that? Is that a thing we can show? I
What
didn't
is it?
Google it, but
Hell House.
hellhouselair.com.
I'll see.
LAIR. I know
I'll see if it
sometimes
exists.
they keep those sites up, and the
Nope.
phone
Nope.
numbers and shit
Can't be reached.
can't be reached. Okay, so we know that one's out, but it was like one of the OG paranormal forums, and Dean makes fun of Sam for going to this website.
This is why no girl ever wants to sleep with you. Yeah.
Yep. This is why girls don't sleep with you. Um, but then they go to the rodeo drive-through and they see 3 of the kids, and there's a mix of stories. It's all different. Um, kind of. Oh, and then the one kid says, "Yeah, I saw her hanging down there, kind of hot, in a dead kind of way." And then Dean kind of
Yeah.
gives him a look.
I kind of raised my eyebrow at that one too. I'm like, necrophilia, anybody?
Yeah. Um. So then they go into the record store and they find the other kid, and the other kid's a writer too. They say they're from the Dallas News, and Dean goes ahead and says, "Okay, Morrison, this kid thinks he's a writer." And Craig seems pretty convincing that something actually happened at this house. So,
Yeah.
they go check it out. And when they're checking it out, they pull out the old EMF reader, but there's a telephone pole with lines connecting right to the house, so they can't really see anything. Um, they see they see a specific cross, and Sam dates that back to like the 14th BC, and then they see the signal of sulfur that didn't show up until Frisco in the 1960s, and I think that's where Dean says that this is why you're not sleeping with the ladies comments. But then there's this
True.
weird
Yeah.
hook. There's a weird hook cross, like it's not a hooked cross, but it's a cross and there's a hook on the bottom. And Dean says he's seen it before. He's seen it before, and we'll know why later on. But this is where we get a first, and they don't say the name, but this is the Ghost Facers. These guys are going to
Uh,
keep popping in and out.
a few times
Spoilers.
they pop in. They pop in and out a few times in the future, but not too often. But every couple seasons they pop up.
It's always a fun episode when they're in there. But they're the ones who run the hellhoundlair.com website. And they're showing off all their gear. I mean, they're fully fucking stocked. They got night vision goggles. They are stocked to the T with this shit. And they're showing off their EMF reader to Sam and Dean's. Got 2.8 megagrams or whatever the fuck. And then they, ask these guys, hey, have you ever actually seen a ghost? And they say, yeah, once. We saw a vase that fell off the table by itself. And we didn't actually see it, we heard it. um, Ed Zedmore and Harry Spangler. So I'm hoping their name stays the same later on. And then, then when Sam and Dean leave, they say good work or whatever the fuck, and the one kid says work. Sorry, that pot we smoked gave me the giggles. Which I watched this first thing in the morning too. I don't know where my notes are coming from. Um, so they find out that the ghost is supposedly Mark Murdoch, who lived in the house. Oh, I totally fucked that up. Earlier, they thought it was Mark. What the hell's my name on this? Malachi.
Malachi.
I think. Yeah, they thought it was Mark Malachi, and he had 6 daughters, and he hung them all up. Sam goes to the courthouse and finds out there was a Mark Murdoch that lived there, but he only had 2 boys, and no one had died in that house.
Yep.
So Sam says, or Dean says, hey, let's do the bar, beer, leave the legends to the locals. Halfway through this episode, at least my notes. So this is the first time Sam pranks Dean with like cha 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 radio going super loud in the car, and that was a kind of a lame prank. But
Uh, for someone who is always on everybody else's ass about what music they play in the car, that's actually an amazing prank. Because
I did find out,
you know how
huh?
embarrassed Dean probably was. You know how embarrassed Dean probably was when that started blasting.
with the cha cha cha's going. Um, I did notice something I asked about before. They had the scene transition right after that part, and I was
Hmm.
like, I know that fucking music. It's now the Home Depot fucking commercial music. And
Really?
they used it twice in this episode, or maybe it was in both episodes. But yeah, they're using the fucking Home Depot transition music. So then we cut to there's 2 girls and 1 dude, and they want her. She lost Truth or Dare, so she has to go down to the fucking cellar to get one of these jars and bring it back. And she says, well, what if, how do I get out of this? And the dude says, well, you can make out with me. So she fucking takes off to go get it. And the dude asks the other girl, would you ever take that dare? And the girl's like, hell no. Cut to girls strung up, fucking monsters there. Now we know for certain there's something in that house killing people. So then we jump to Sam and Dean checking the place out, but the cops are watching because the girl just died in this house, and they know the kids are going to check it out for the paranormal shit, and they're hiding like behind 3 or 4 sticks when the cops
I
flash that fucking
know.
flashlight.
I mean, the stupidity of cops is what they're betting on, but still, I mean, they're betting on the stupidity of cops. But
Yeah, they could have made it a little better, but ghost chasers show up. So Dean yells, "Who you gonna call?" And the cops fucking start chasing the ghost facers. And then
which
they start, huh?
which that's just funny because they're not even called ghost facers yet. So it's not like there's like it's not even like he has something to draw that up for Ghostbusters. He's just doing it because they look like Ghostbusters. But I mean,
Yeah,
it
yeah.
it's it's classic. It's classic Dean. That's a moment I was waiting for. And I didn't even realize it was going to be in this episode until I freaking heard him say it. I was like, oh my god, yes, thank you.
Yeah, that was a good one. And then the only conflict I have with this, right, is they find the ghost. The cops are chasing the ghost facers. Sam and Dean are in the fucking basement, and the ghost comes and they start shooting the ghost, and they notice the ghost doesn't react to the rock salt.
Yep.
But how the hell would the cops not have heard all those fucking shotgun blasts
I
in that
I
basement?
I I'd be lying if I said I wasn't thinking the same thing. I'm like when I was watching, I'm like, what the? I'm like, how would anybody not hear that? I'm like, how would the freaking either the investigators or the cops not hear that and run back to the house? Like, it's.
Yeah.
I mean, unless the cops chase the other two far enough away that maybe they couldn't hear exactly where it was coming from. But
Yeah, I don't know, dude. This place seemed to be out in the middle of nowhere, and like you would have heard that shit for sure. But
well, I mean, and that's the thing though. That's the thing. They were gone for a while, and Sam and Dean get out of there without the cops coming back. So they had to be pretty far out.
yeah, I guess the ghost facers do see Sam and Dean after they bust out of the fucking door, and the ghost facers are recording, and they get a glimpse of this ghost chasing Sam and Dean out,
And I
and
think
then
if I remember right, I think them getting Sam and Dean on camera doing this comes back into play later on in the show.
yeah, it goes up on their website,
Oh yeah,
but at this time, Sam notices the ghost had slit wrists. It wasn't hung, and the original story is he hung himself after he hung his daughters. So Dean finally figures out what the fucking logo is, this little hooked cross, and they go back to the record store with Craig, and it is, I might have I won't look for it, but the Blue Oyster Cult fucking record.
it's the veteran of the Psychic Wars record.
And yeah, so he shows it to Craig. Craig tells this whole story about how his cousin, and I thought Craig and his cousin were a little close, if you know what I mean.
I
I don't.
I mean they weren't in Alabama, so I was a little confused. I'm like, what the fuck's going on here? I'm like his cousin's hot. I mean, don't get me wrong, his cousin's fucking hot, but like, yeah, I mean, they were
They were a little touchy feely.
a little too close for comfort.
Yeah, but basically, Craig is sad about it because this girl fucking died, and apparently the cops said that the girl had committed suicide, which wouldn't make any sense either because the other two were there, and like,
Yeah.
where, yeah, not happening. But Craig just says basically that the fucking cousins back from college, they went, did this prank, tagged up the fucking old abandoned house, and that's the Blue Oyster Cult fucking sign. That's what that cross was from. Um, and this is the first time I think Tulpa's come back in. Sam's thinking it's a Tulpa, right? They
Which
come.
yeah, which I mean, it's the first time it got brought up in the show. I'm pretty sure, and they may maybe they mentioned the name once, but they never went into what it was. This is the first time they actually go into what it is. But actually, maybe in the Bugs episode, they might have said Topa in that episode. Um, but yeah,
Yeah,
it's the first time they had as like a real idea of what a creature of what a Topa could do.
and now we're back to the funny part. Dean puts itching powder in Sam's fucking underwear after you see Jack Sam come out of the shower.
All the
And
ladies love that, but yeah.
so Sam's doing some research. He finds out that in Tibet in 1915, a group of monks visualized a golem and it came to life. So that was 20 monks. What would 10,000 views on the internet do?
Exactly,
Well,
and
I don't
that,
think we're gonna have to worry about that. But
maybe not. But I mean, that actually, it's a valid point that's been brought up by paranormal investigators for a long time. Is what if a lot of these like crybaby bridges and stuff get real friction and actually become a real thing because of the internet?
I actually wrote that down for you. You need to do this for your frogman. All you need to do is draw that Tibetan monk symbol because that one was apparently real. But then your frogman will be alive.
Do we really want that though?
Then Sam comes out and he says, "I think we're allergic to the. I'm allergic to the soap or something." Finds out Dean's fucking with him, and cut to the ghost facer guys. This is our ticket out of there. Talking about that video, the ghost chasing Sam and Dean out. Fame, money, sex with girls. And then they go into WWBD. What would Buffy do? That's a throwback for the like WWJD and Buffy.
Yeah,
So
but I mean, and I gotta point out that I love that one of the ghost facers is the kid from Eurotrip, which makes it so much more funny because he's such a nerd in Eurotrip too. Like it's his character in everything he's in, and he does a fucking great job. The kid with glasses.
yeah, I don't think I saw that one.
Oh my god, you would love that one. You need to watch it.
Then we got a little banter. Dean says, "Look, action figures coming out of the original packaging when the ghost facers leave." Um, and then they use the old reverse psychology. They know they can't get these kids to shut down their website, but they tell the kids like, "Oh yeah, we looked into it. We found the death certificate. This guy's totally afraid of 45 ammo, so if the ghost gets shot with 45 ammo, he's gonna die because they have no way of killing this fucking tulpa thing." And then Sam glues Dean's hand to a beer.
Classic.
And what do we got here? They use that fucking. There was a puppet that Dean kept pulling, and it would make noise. They use that to fucking call the cops out into the wood. And then they get there. The ghost facers are back, and the fucking ghost isn't dying, or the tulpa's not dying from the 45. And we find out that the servers went down, so nobody saw the story. So they're still going off of the old story. So as Sam's fucking wrestling the tulpa and saving the other kids, Dean burns the house down and says, "With no house, there's nothing to visit." Sam says, "What if the story changes? Then this tulpa thing will be running around."
Which
Um,
if, I was trying to think of it, and I'm like, I don't think they ever bring this back as like a continuity thing. I think they just kind of let it lie.
yeah, I don't think they do either. And
Which I mean,
I,
and it was a disappointing ending. I'll say, like that was the cheapest way out they ever fucking do to get out of a freaking problem.
that made sense to me. I don't know. But then we
It
got
does.
the ghost spacers loaded up their trailer to the back of their car, and they are going out to LA because a fucking Hollywood exec finally called them to make their big paranormal movie. And they say they're going off to La La Land. And it's funny, as someone from California, like we never used that fucking phrase, but I would hear my cousins back in the 90s and shit call LA and Hollywood La La Land. But
Yep.
I think that's kind of died out. And then
Well,
Sam,
until they put out a freaking movie called La La Land in like 2018. But yeah,
oh, did they? Yeah, I'm not very good
yeah,
with these movies.
yeah. It's a musical. It's
Oh,
what it's pretty well. It's very well done. I mean, it's not that entertaining, but it's pretty well done. It's well done.
musicals suck. So,
Disagree.
Sam called as the producer, so they're going out there. because Sam pranked them. And then Dean had put a dead fish in the back of their car. And this is where they end or start the truce of pranking each other for at least the next 100 miles. I gave this episode a 5 out of 5. What'd you give it?
This is a 3 out of 5 for me. It wasn't that amazing. I mean, it was all right. It was definitely all right, but it was nothing special.
3? Like, even with the whole side quest, the pranks, and
I mean
I
that
thought it
that's the
was a
reason
legit movie.
that I mean
Like,
that's the reason I got a 3. It was a pretty boring ass episode, and the easy way out at the end kind of pissed me off.
I guess if you're looking at just the ending, I thought it was like a super entertaining, like one of the more entertaining I've seen at least.
No, not for me. It wasn't. I mean, it just no. It's compared to so many that we've done, so many that are coming up. Like it wasn't that even for first season. It wasn't that entertaining. But it just I don't know. It's the next episode was a lot better. So I'll gladly talk about that one. Uh, the second episode tonight, folks, is season 1, episode 18. Something Wicked, or as it's called on Netflix, Something Wicked This Way Comes. They shortened it on Max and everywhere else. They put Supernatural, but it was Something Wicked This Way Comes on Netflix for some reason. I don't know why, but
Well, and that's the only thing they put on the like when the episode starts too.
uh,
But I noticed
uh,
that as well.
yeah. And basically, the episode starts off, and we're in Fitchburg, Wisconsin for this one, which is funny because there's a Fitchburg, Massachusetts, about 10 minutes away from my house. But um, there's a young girl saying her prayers before bed, and her father explains that her mother spent the night at the hospital with her sister, and then he says goodnight and leaves the room. The kid is kept awake by the tree branches banging against her window. She gets creeped out by it and closes the blinds and goes back to bed. And soon you see like a long Nosferatu, long fingered hand style open the bedroom window. A shadowy figure creeps in, and as she rolls over to see what the noise is, the creature's mouth glows white and it hisses at her as she lets out a scream. Which my problem right there is, where the fuck was the dad in this? Like, why didn't we see the dad come running back in the room? What the fuck?
I thought the
But
dad was going to be the bad guy, dude. Like the way he was watching her as she was doing her prayers, and then her,
yeah,
her
it was.
nickname was Monkey Puss.
I mean,
Don't name
it
your
was.
little daughters Monkey Puss.
I mean, I call my daughter Monkey Butt, but that's a lot less dirty sounding than
Yeah.
what Nelly does. But I mean, the title scene hits, and it goes to Sam and Dean driving down the road, and apparently their father John sent them these coordinates, and Sam's not finding anything when he looks it up online, and they argue over whether it's a bust or not, and they stop to get coffee, and Sam notices that the playground is really empty, and there's only one kid playing there. And Dean goes over and talks to the mom of the child, who says there's been a recent outbreak of an illness affecting children. And Sam and Dean decide to head to the hospital to go look into it. And this part was funny because as they walk in, Sam confronts Dean about the ID that Dean gave him, which reads Bikini Inspector. I thought that was hilarious. But Dean says we're not even going to check it. So Sam goes and introduces himself as CDC. Uh, and the nurse asks for ID with Dean actually laughing in the background. And Sam shows the ID, which the nurse barely looks at, and she directs him down the hall to where the sick kids are. And as they walk down the hallway, they see an old lady in one of the rooms with an upside down cross in the wall, which you think might be like something later on, but we'll find out soon it's not.
Yeah.
And they meet Dr. Heidecker, the doctor on the case who is surprised the CDC shows up. And he tells them that the boys that the disease works itself through siblings in a family, beginning from the youngest and working up to the firstborn, which is unheard of. Dean has to talk to the kids, but the doctor tells him it's not possible since they're all unconscious. And they talk to the original girl from the beginning's dad, who reveals that his other daughter got the illness first, then his older daughter. And then Sam, they're trying to figure out what to do next. And uh, Sam says to Dean, he's like, well, nobody will be home at their house right now. So they go check out the house, and they don't find anything for a while until Sam happens to open the window and finds a semi-human handprint in the windowsill. And this draws into a flashback of Dean recognizing it as something he saw as a kid. And this is one of our first real flashbacks to their lives as kids after their mother died. And it's pretty important to the storyline for Supernatural because Dean especially had a rough childhood growing up as a son of a hunter. And I have comments about their life, but I'll get to that later. And it shows a young Dean looking at a picture of the same handprint because John was on a hunt at the time for the same thing. John's packing his bag and get ready to leave, and he runs down all the rules with Dean. And as soon as I love that, as soon as John leaves, Dean locks the door, and Sam's entranced in TV, so he's not really paying attention to any of this because he's too young. And that's when
What were they watching? Like,
I
was it
don't know.
Thundercats?
Johnny Quest or something. I don't fucking know, but it doesn't. I couldn't find anything that actually said what they were watching. But the flashback ends, and Dean tells Sam that that their dad faced the creature before, but he doesn't go into detail yet. And he said Dad must want us to finish the job. And they get to the hotel they're staying at, and Dean then tells Sam, "Yeah, we're hunting a witch. It's called a Shtrika," which he tells him, yeah, Dad faced this one 17 years ago in Fort Douglas, Wisconsin, but it got away. And Sam's honestly shocked by this because nothing gets away from John Winchester. And they go into the hotel where they're greeted by a kid who's a little asshole named Michael. His mother comes out before the kid can keep being an asshole and finishes up checking them in and tells the kid to go make his brother dinner, which Dean's watching this, and it triggers another flashback. And Dean's cooking dinner for Sam in the hotel room. Way too young to be cooking dinner for his fucking brother in a hotel room. I'll say that much. And he gives Sam SpaghettiOs, and Sam complains that he doesn't want any, and he'd rather have Lucky Charms. And Dean tries to not give him any because he didn't have any yet, but Sam gives him puppy dog eyes, and Dean gives in. And Sam reaches in the box and tries to give Dean the toy out of it, which I thought was cute, to try and make up for it. But
this is where my one other note comes in is while this part's going on, when he's handing her the fucking credit card, total MasterCard fucking commercial right there. Will you accept MasterCard?
And
I thought that was fun.
Of course, it's not his name either, which is the great part. But yeah, Sam starts looking into the Shtrika in the hotel room, and they feed on Spiritus Vitae, or life's breath, which makes people ill if they lose it, obviously. And there's no known way to kill one of these things. Dean tells him that he's wrong and that John figured out a way, that they're vulnerable when they feed and they can be killed with consecrated iron, which I'm not 100% sure what consecrated iron is. But
I would think it's like iron, because like consecrated land would be like a church or a graveyard or something, right?
Maybe.
So maybe it's like iron bars from a church or a graveyard or something. Holy.
Maybe it's just blessed bullets.
Could be.
Maybe you just have to have a reverend bless them or something. I don't know. That would make sense. But then they're trying to figure out how to find the thing. And Dean says that when they're not feeding, they can take on human form. And they figure out that the hospital's in the center of all the victims' houses, so they're like, "Oh yeah, what about that old woman in the hospital with the inverted cross?" So they go back to the hospital. They go back to the hospital, and this is fucking hilarious. And they go into the old woman's room with her guns drawn out, and she's just sitting in her chair, still with her eyes open. And then she all of a sudden starts yelling at them, accusing them of stealing her stuff. And she asks them to fix that cross on the wall because she's asked them to correct it multiple times now. And they lie and say they're hospital maintenance, and they go back to the hotel like shit. But and while this is happening, Asher gets attacked by the Shtrika. And the next morning, when they get back to the hotel, they notice the older brother outside looking sad, and they find out that the younger brother got sick, and the mom's on the way out to rush to the hospital. Dean offers to drive her, and this of course ignites it in Dean as they're going to kill this thing. He guarantees it. And Sam goes to the library while Dean's on that trip to research it, and he calls Dean to tell him that he found reports of it dating back to the 1890s of similar cases of children becoming ill and dying over the course of a few months, with a new town being hit every 15, 20 years. In one of the articles, Sam finds a picture of Dr. Heidecker and this is where I'm like, you found the picture from 1893? You know how rare pictures were back then? Like, and you just happen to find,
It was
you
a
just happen to,
hospital.
but still, you just happen to find one. And they figure out that the doctor is really the witch. But at the hospital, Dean actually talks to the doctor again, and he gets pissed off, but keeps his cool for that moment. Goes back to the hotel, and and there's a whole conversation back and forth about how Sam's impressed that Dean didn't shoot the doctor in the hospital. And Dean's like, I wanted to, but you don't really want to start blasting in the children's ward. But
And I forgot my gun.
yeah. And he says, good thing I did, though. And they come up with a plan to use the older brother, Michael, as bait to draw out Heidecker. Sam hates the plan, and Dean says he doesn't like it either, but there's no other way to do this. And Dean says he screwed up once before, but Sam doesn't know why that he says that. And it goes back to a flashback, and Dean's getting bored, sneaks out of the hotel room to go play arcade games while Sam's sleeping. And when the arcade closes up, Dean goes back to his hotel room, and he notices light comes from Sam's room, so he walks slowly towards it, and he looks in to see Sam sleeping with the Shtrika attacking him. He reaches for the shotgun, and as he points the gun, John bursts in, says, "Get down!" and starts firing at the Shtrika. And he hurts it, but he doesn't kill it, and the Shtrika flees and runs away. And John yells at Dean for not listening to him and following orders. And that's when you find out that Dean says that after that day, he never could look at John the same. Like John started looking at him differently because he couldn't trust him as much. And that's why he gave him this job, is because he wants Dean to finish what he stopped from finishing last time. And so they go talk to the older brother about their plan. He, of course, at first, like any scared kid, refuses to do it. But he admits he saw something coming for his brother, but he thought it was a nightmare. And after they head back to the room trying to figure out another way to do it, the brother comes around and says, and asks, like, if I help kill this thing, would it make my brother get better? And they say, we don't know, but it's worth a shot. And the older brother says, I'll do anything for my little brother. And actually, no, I'm sorry. He asked Dean, like, would you do anything for your little brother? And Dean looks at Sam and he says, yeah, I would. And then Michael says he would do this. He would as well. So that night they place cameras around Michael's bedroom and tell him to hide under the bed when they start shooting. At least they're concerned about the kid. and and the kid's still worried about getting shot, but Dean's like, don't worry, we don't miss. And then Dean asks,
Famous last
uh,
words.
yeah. And Dean asks the kid if you ever heard of gunshot before, and he's like, in action movies. But Dean's like, the real thing's a lot louder. But at 3 a.m., Sam and Dean are in the other room watching the camera, and there's a little heart-to-heart moment from the brothers that Malachi hates. But Sam tries to apologize to Dean for always giving him shit about following Dad's orders, but which Dean just kind of groans in and ignores. But they see something start to come in the window, and the creature comes in and starts to approach the kid. And right when it's about to eat, they come in, burst in, open fire, and when it appears to be dead, they let their guard down stupidly, and the creature gets up and attacks, throwing both boys across the room and choking Sam out a little bit. And Dean just happens to get there, and he tries to feed on Sam, which I thought was for a second was going to feed into like the whole Sam being blessed by a
Hit the
demon.
first time. Oh, yeah.
Like I thought the monster was going to like realize like something about Sam and back away, but they didn't play into that. I guess I forgot they
Little
didn't. But
spoilers there.
please. Like if anybody listens to the show, I'm pretty sure they watch Supernatural. So and and Dean gets there in time to kill the Shtrika for good, and in a very Scooby Doo movie type way, when the Shtrika is killed, all the life essence it sucked out starts flying out of its body to go back to the right people, and in a very Scooby Doo end of the movie type of thing, which I found that amusing. But and then Dean hysterically shoots the creature a couple more times in the face just for fun. But next morning, Michael's mother appears, saying that his little brother is making a recovery along with all the other children, and that the Dr. Heidecker has disappeared. And the kid leaves with his mom to go to the hospital. And Sam says to Dean that it's sad that Michael will always know what's out there, and he sometimes wishes he was innocent too. And Dean says he wishes Sam had the chance to be innocent as well. And they drive off into the sunset. But I mean, and I actually looked into the Shtrika a little bit after this too, and they had most of it right. I mean, vampiric witch, Albanian mythology, which they said, but in original folklore, it sucks the blood of infants at night while they sleep and transforms itself into a flying insect, usually a moth, fly, or bee. And only the Shtrika could cure those that she had drained. It's usually a woman with a hateful stare and a horribly disfigured face. They usually live in forests and have supernatural powers. And apparently the male version of it is a Shrik-gu or a Shrik-yin. And I mean, that's other than that, they basically got it right. I mean, but apparently,
that's a big variation.
back in the old days, it was said you could ward it off by taking a pinch of salt in your fingers and touch your closed eyes, your mouth, or your heart in the opposite part of the heart and the pit of the stomach and throw the salt in direct flames, saying, "See, I doesn't sit, I plassen," and saying that 3 to 6 times, whispering it. And also, of course, garlic was used to keep it out of the houses.
So just cook steak.
Yep. And apparently a cross made of pig bone could be placed at the entrance of a church on Easter Sunday, rendering any Shtrika inside unable to leave. And it could be captured and killed at the threshold as they try to leave.
They should have finished that one off with that.
And they apparently also, that after they drain the blood from a victim, the Shtrika would generally go off into the woods and regurgitate it. And if a silver coin were to be soaked in that blood and wrapped in cloth, it would become an amulet offering permanent protection from any Shtrika.
Wow.
And
man, they were big into this Shtrika shit, huh?
In Albania, I mean, it was actually a name for witches in a lot of areas, and of course, in Catholic legend, it can be destroyed using a holy water with a cross in it. And in Islam, it can be sent away or killed by reciting verses from the Quran, specifically one verse I don't know how to say, and by spitting water on the Shtrika.
And the Israelis would just bomb the fuck out of it.
Yep. And it's been on 4 or 5 different shows. This villain, but
4 or 5 in like total, like
different shows.
Different shows. Okay. I thought it was
It was
coming
actually
back 4 or 5 times.
it was actually a villain in Legends of Tomorrow for an episode, which I found pretty funny. But yeah, so I mean, I enjoyed the episodes where it goes in the main storyline and tells you more about Dean and Sam's childhood. Though I will say, I am so surprised they didn't have CPS called them more than they ever did. Even in the '90s, like they would have had fucking John would have had CPS called him at every hotel he went to. He was leaving his 2 kids alone in a hotel room all day. Like,
Yeah, those kids listened. They need to show how much John used to beat those kids so they would listen, because mine wouldn't.
mm-mm. Well, my kids would probably be scared to leave the hotel room alone. That's probably what it would be. But it's just it'd be more fear than like fear of me. It'd be fear of what's out there that's not me. But it's just I don't know. The way they were brought up is just fucking sad. Like I get it. Like John's a hunter, and the fact that he would just leave his kids with a priest whenever he could, like Father Jim.
Yeah,
Like yeah,
that's a bad call. Don't leave your kids with priests. Anybody watching?
but
It's a
it's.
recipe for disaster.
I mean, it gets a little better when a certain character comes into the show. Finally, I'm hoping by the end of the season, but maybe not. But and you find out that he actually watched the kids part of the time too. But
Oh
uh,
yeah,
but he'll be coming into it
does
eventually. I don't know
he?
when. I don't know if he's in the first season or not. I honestly don't remember.
Yeah, I
But
want to say it might be later.
but I enjoyed the show this episode. The Shtrika was a good villain for them, and adding in that Dean almost let Sam get attacked by one at one point too, kind of made it personal. And I like it when they make things personal in this show. So, and the fact that John actually didn't kill something is always a shock because John Winchester's supposed to be a legend. So
So what are you rating it?
this one I would actually give a 4.5 out of 5.
I'm gonna go with you there. I honestly thought the episode before was just a better episode, but this one had a lot of tied into the main storyline, and it was a good episode too. Definitely wasn't that shitty Bugs episode we watched
Oh
a
God
month
no,
ago.
God no. Thank God. But I mean, and I did find it funny as shit when he gives him the mac and cheese and Sam's like, I don't want mac and cheese, especially mac and cheese that was made before I was born. But which
I
shows
just
how old
like
the
how Dean fucking threw the SpaghettiOs away. Like, apparently they're not that bad off if the kid's just throwing SpaghettiOs away.
I mean, I'm honestly kind of surprised that Dean didn't eat them. Like, why would you
Mm-hmm.
if you made this? Why wouldn't you at least eat them if your brother doesn't want to? But
I know.
it's wasteful. It's wasteful. I would be pissed at my kids if they did that shit. But
Well, my
I
kids
mean,
too. It's like for whatever reason they will not eat leftovers, and like I'm the only one that eats it in the house. So even if we get like takeout or something, you have
yep.
24 hours. If that shit ain't eaten, I am fucking up all of them.
No, I'm not allowed to. I'm not allowed to touch leftovers unless they're given to me. But
They've
no, I mean,
wasted them too many times, dude. 24
no,
hours. If you haven't eaten them, they're mine.
no. After a certain point, I'll say something. I'll be like, okay, these are gonna go bad. I'm eating them, and usually I'll just be like, all right, go ahead. But and I mean, my kids will eat leftovers though, like especially takeout, like Chinese. Like if that's what they're getting for dinner, like a night or two later, they'll eat it. Like
Yeah, the
they have no.
Chinese always gets eaten, but Chinese food tastes better cold anyway.
I mean, they have no choice. They're gonna eat what they're given, or they're not eating anything at all. So that's their choice.
Nah.
But I mean, it's I don't know. This episode I love it. I love that you actually get to see their childhood for once, and you go back to it a bunch of other times in the future as well. But it's cool to see their childhood.
And this one was written by, I think, Danielle Knuff and directed by Whitney Ransick.
But you know what's actually funny is because I was watching the credits, they don't give credit to what's his name, Negan. They don't give credit to the actor who plays John Winchester for being a special guest on it.
I remember there was a special guest at the beginning, I
It wasn't
didn't
him.
see the name though. Yeah,
It
who would
wasn't.
that
It
have
was
been?
Jeffrey Dean Morgan. It was Jeffrey Dean Morgan.
Who's that?
It,
Like, who did we? Was it the
he,
doctor or something?
no, 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 no. They didn't show Jeffrey Dean Morgan, who's their dad. They didn't show his name. I guess the special guest
Oh,
probably was the doctor. Probably was some small actor off other TV shows or something. But
yeah,
maybe. I mean, they have to credit everybody who's in it anyway. But or maybe the mom was somebody that was in shows back then. I don't know. But the
yeah.
mom was cute.
Negan wasn't like. I mean, it was 10 years after this before he was even recognizable. Even for Supernatural, like Negan would have never been a second thought of again. I think.
No, yeah, it's true because I've seen him in other shit over the years too, and it would take me a while, but I'd be like, where do I know him from? And then I'd be like, oh yeah, he's Sam and Dean's dad. But it's he wasn't recognizable to the league, and that made him who he is, and that made him immensely popular as like a famous character. But I
Yeah.
mean, I thought the mom was hot. Like it surprises me that Dean doesn't sleep with more women in the first season, or at least they don't show it if he does, or they don't show any inclination of it happening. But
Well, that's because Dean's thinking that like he's always thinking of his fucking childhood. He's got a real softy for kids, that Dino.
yeah.
I mean, we'll see this over the years too. He has a softy for the kids.
Well, yeah, he always does because I mean, he sees a lot of himself. He sees a lot of himself in these kids, and that's why he sees his childhood, and he wants to try to help them before they go through the same shit he did. But but it's
Yeah,
is this is I think it's the first time they actually tell a kid like what's really going on in the world.
yeah, in the
Like
show for sure.
yeah, I mean, I think
Well,
it's time they.
besides that sacrifice episode, but I think she was like
She was an adult.
16 or something. Yeah,
She was basically an adult, so
yeah.
that's different. But this is an actual kid, and like they tell him, like, yeah, monsters exist. Like this is a witch, like trying to take your soul. It's
What do you
it's
do with that too? Like, of this one specific witch that was trying to take your soul, but like, what do they mean monsters exist? Like, that's
I think
plural.
I think it just makes a kid start questioning things more as he gets older, and makes him like look at the reality of things. But and probably watches out for his little brother a lot more closely because he knows this is out, there are things like that out there. But
You think he
and
becomes a
it's
hunter?
I was almost like questioning, like, did they bring him back in another episode older as a hunter? And I'm like, I don't think they do, but I could have forgot about it if they did because it was a small thing. But
It would
because
have been a good, huh?
I know they bring back some characters and like, oh yeah,
Hmm.
they're hunters now because they know the truth.
Well, that would have been a good one. I know this, like, they didn't expect it to do however many fucking seasons it did, but it would have been a good storyline to bring back that kid because the mom runs the fucking motel, and obviously, if Sam and Dean went there, if there's anything else that happens in the area, maybe there'd be other hunters.
Yeah, maybe. I
So
mean,
they could have brought him in.
and I mean, eventually they bring in like a lot of hunters like that. Sam and Dean meet, like they bring them all in for like big events and shit. So it's kind of like a Justice League of hunters almost. But
Yeah,
yeah, I mean, I don't know. I found it pretty. I found this one pretty good. But
this was a good
next,
week.
yeah, I didn't mind the first one as much as it was way better than Bugs or any of those.
Yeah.
But coming up next week, folks. Uh okay. Actually, there's one episode next week that's going to be fucking incredible to talk about. I can't wait. I'm not going to give spoilers away on here, but the one episode next week is fucking amazing. So because we are getting closer and closer to the end of the season, guys. We're not there next week, but in 2 weeks we'll be there. So only 4 episodes left in this season. So 2 more weeks and we'll be at the end of
Okay,
the season.
cool.
But
Oh
come back.
man, that would have been cool if we could have ended on a season finale and a season start. That would have been
Yeah,
dope.
depends on the number of episodes. I think the number of episodes per season goes up, so that might become a possibility. But we'll see.
Yeah.
Well,
Well,
I mean, actually, I think it'd be pretty hard to do because it's usually an even number in every season for most shows. But usually it's like 22 episodes a season or something like that. But we'll see. It could happen. It could happen. But we'll see you next week, guys. Come back for more Paranormal Prime Time. And have a good week.
bye, everybody.